So tell us about Average Community.
Okay. Well, Average Community is a documentary. It's part music doc and it's part like personal memoir. And it tells the story about a group of friends from Trenton, New Jersey, which is a small industrial city in New Jersey that the industry has dried up. And in the 80s, growing up there, this group of friends sort of didn't have any opportunity. And they found an outlet in this gritty underground punk rock hardcore scene in the 80s, before punk rock was sort of commercialized and got on MTV and such.
Films that you start thinking out are going to be one way end up with lives of their own. What surprised you? What ideas did you have that got changed as your journey of making this film?
Well, because the film it's so personal, the subject matter, and the people in the film are people in my past, that I looked at a certain way when I was 15 and 16 years old, when I was a teenager in this group. It would surprise me how much different these people are as men and women today than how I viewed them as kids. Of course, I viewed myself a certain way as a kid, and I did things I'm not proud of, and but you leave that behind with yourself. But if you don't talk to someone for 20 years, sometimes your idea of them stays with how it was 20 years ago, and then you reconnect with them, and they've grown too, they've changed too, they've left that person behind. So that was surprising to me. I didn't expect it to have that revelation.
Well, let's talk about not talk about the film anymore and talk about the filmmaker. What are your roots in this profession?
Well, growing up the way we did in Trenton, where there wasn't really a lot to do, we always, me and my two brothers, Joe and Chris, we always had a video camera or a guitar or something to do, something creative. So, I've always been doing some form of skit or film.
Do you have those films like with capes when you all are pretending to be superheroes as children?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's good for future filmmaking stuff.
I'm trying to work that into my next doc. I don't know if that would sell, though. I don't know how.
Being somebody that has looked at literally hundreds of documentaries, the lack of sense of how to tell a story, I find to be the most glaring problem with most of the documentaries I see.
Well, that's what I tried to do at Average Community. I tried to tell a story, and I tried to tell it a little differently, because that's sort of like my thing. I like to do things a little differently, and that's sort of maybe has something to do with the way I grew up with punk rock and hardcore or whatnot. But I try to do it a little differently than most documentaries. It's not a talking heads documentary. There's no lower thirds that come at the bottom that say, Fred Zara, filmmaker, at the bottom, or anything like that. It's really like a personal journey type of documentary that at the end, maybe you don't even realize what I'm doing, but at the end of the story, it all sort of starts to make sense, and you put the pieces together that I was going somewhere.